Hi, Patrick. I can't hear you. You're on mute. You're on mute. I know, yeah. Are you driving? Yeah. So you just keep your eyes on the road. I can't hear you. I wish I could read lips. You'll have to call me later and tell me what you said. It's going to be a good class, Patrick. Are you going to be able to be on the whole time? Good. I talked to Stacy. She's done over 30 flips. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Margaret?
Are you reading something? I'm making faces at you.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Oh, no. Here we go.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll say it again. Good morning, Colleen. I was
Good morning,
muted.
Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Kristen.
What's up?
What's
You know, maybe you need to take up drinking coffee. I'll get you a cup if you want one.
Right?
What's up, TikTok?
Oh, hey. Are you doing those classes, Bill? For the command?
TikTok? No.
Oh, no. For the command?
Yeah, actually, I got to connect with Bob Gill today and see when he wants to kick that off.
Oh, okay. So they didn't start. When do you think you don't know when you'll have them?
I'd like to get it going as soon as next week.
Okay. Do you have a particular day or time you thinking
Do
about?
you?
Do I? Well, let me check my schedule. My schedule.
William, long time no see.
What's up, Yoga?
Is
Hello.
it later in the day?
I got my Mickey Mouse ears going on, as my kids call them.
I know. Did you read?
I did.
Woohoo!
I did too.
Wow.
I felt bad the last time.
Yeah, I forgot how to read. Actually, that was a good chapter.
It was an awesome chapter that I have to read like 20 more times because, there's math.
But I know like math is not your strongest forte.
No, but like I have to like rewrite everything out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because I like the examples because then you can actually,
Well, it's funny because I actually had, by the way, morning, Colleen.
Good
Colleen,
morning. Hi, Bill.
how are you? It's one of my favorite humans. Karen and I were just kind of talking about this stuff, and I'll be the first to admit, because anybody that knows me knows, like, best of intentions, worst to follow through. I read this in the last hour, and that's okay. It's not when you do it, it's just the fact that you do it. But Karen and I were having that same exact conversation this morning. Maybe I'll wait till you get going here, but
no, go ahead. It's 11:01.
well,
Go
it's just,
for it.
we're talking about like what to do right now in regards with our properties, whether we're paying them down, because we have cash flow on our investment property. So it's like, okay, are you using that money to just pay it down? Are you paying yourself first? Or are you reinvesting that, or are you reinvesting that to pay down your primary? And those were kind of like our choices right now. And it was interesting because before reading that, I was thinking one thing, and then after reading it, I'm like, interest rates, as Stacy jumps on, like, why do you want to pay down 3% interest rates when you can go make 8% on your money somewhere else? You're borrowing at 3.5%, 4%.
Right.
So, I mean, it's free money. I mean, Stacy Jordan is giving away free money, just for the record. It's free.
Yes.
Almost, it's supposed to free without actually being free. You just got to sign some paperwork. But why wouldn't you, if you're taking a 3.5%, 4% note, why wouldn't you just take that money and go invest it where you make it 8%, 9%? Why are you paying that down? Like my thought process on that was just different.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the math don't lie.
No. And
Right.
again, like, I claim to know my math, but sometimes you just got to see it and have some common sense to believe what you actually want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was another one of my favorite chapters,
It was really good.
sections. Yeah.
It was definitely really good. So yeah, we're trying to figure out, Yurka, we have like 11 days to identify a 1031 exchange property. I'm starting
You
to
still haven't found one or three?
sweat. Well, I mean, in case you guys didn't know, it's a buyer's market. Seller's market. Billy D is really cheap. So
I know.
Well, that those two equations don't really work right now.
No, it's just, I don't know. We made an offer on something in Myrtle Beach. It didn't come together. I swear to God, I'm the only realtor on the planet that comes in under asking price in the seller's market. So we didn't get it.
I need
Surprise.
to refer yourself to a good realtor that will give you advice, and then you need to listen to it.
You know what?
Yeah.
I listened to the realtor's the one that told me to come in below.
Ah,
I'm like, listen, I don't want to lose a house over $3,500. That's all it was, $3,500.
Bill,
That's
that's
ridiculous.
crazy. Bill,
I suck, I know.
That's
I wouldn't even tell
terrible.
anybody that.
I know, that's embarrassing.
What were
It's
you
okay,
thinking?
there'll be other ones. I mean,
Who's hosting this meeting?
we're not
Are
telling
you?
you. Can we mute
Me?
him?
Yeah,
Just
why?
shut him off right now. Shut
Right?
him off.
Kristen, can you mute him? $20.
Sure. $20, I'll take it.
How about up to $1?
I can feed her, Zeb.
Now you have to unzip. I can't even unmute you, Zeb. Sorry, I muted you. Just as a joke. You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
There's no how.
There you are.
Actually, no, it sounds good like that.
Oh my God, I can't even unmute you. Can you do it, Zeb?
He
Just
can't.
okay. great.
Perfect, perfect.
I
Sign
literally
language.
Sorry,
asked
Steve,
to
can't hear you.
unmute. Oh my God, that's terrible. I literally just muted him. Oh, there he goes. Okay.
I
All
can
right.
unmute myself.
There we go. Okay. So what I liked, Bill, and it like kind of just like rang a bell in my head was when they were talking about when Gary was having breakfast with Michael, and he said whenever I would show him the money that I had in the bank, he would say that's just dead money. You can't
Yeah.
become financially independent with dead money. And it's so true. You know, it's like you look at that money, they're like, oh, look at all this money, but really, it's really not doing anything for you. What are you making, like a penny a month on it? Literally,
Right.
if you're lucky.
Yep.
How
That,
about the money
yeah,
in your
dead
map?
money versus safe money.
Yeah,
It all about, and so the current inflation rate is 4.2%. So I think I've got a lot of dead money in my bank.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, isn't it, Bill? Like that was,
Mhm.
like, you know, 1 page into or 2 pages into what you start reading, you're like, mic drop. You know, I mean, so many of us literally have dead money. And think between what interest rates are, they're under 4%. So if you're, you know, if you're, I mean, that's dead money. If you're not taking that money and reinvesting, you know, instead of pulling that money out, you're putting it somewhere else and doubling it up, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yep. It's depressing.
Yeah, it's,
What else?
hey, Kristen, page 296. It just says, our survey of our millionaires showed that they had a 40% equity position in their holdings.
Yeah.
Most admitted that they could have used cash flow to pay down more debt and increase their equity more rapidly over time, but they chose to keep building their financial wealth by putting that money back to work at a higher wage. I mean, that's
Mhm.
exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
Where if you're making $400 a month and you're paying 3% interest on a property, like why aren't you taking that $400 a month and seeing if you can make it into $800 a month or even $600 a month?
Yep.
Instead of just Stacy, the beginning conversation that my wife and I had was, hey, we should start paying down our investment property so we get zero balances, and it kind of doesn't make sense.
Right. Right.
But I think we're trained to think the other way.
Yeah,
But you're not paying it down.
I agree. I don't know. I think there's always a healthy balance with things. I think
Mhm.
that making a couple $100, what I do is I take a couple $100 a month and I round up a lot in my payment and I allocate that towards principal. I feel like that's for me at least, a healthy balance because I'm attacking that principal a little more aggressively, but I'm also capitalizing on the money that I'm bringing in from my investment properties and making that work for me in other ways, whether it's, you know, hiding it from Uncle Sam, putting it back in my pocket, you know, or reinvesting it. So that's my position on it. That's what I
Mhm.
choose to do. And of course, you can make an argument for anything, right? 'Cause then, you know, as you pay down your investments and you own properties debt free, then you can borrow against that equity, right? So I just think, I think there can be a healthy balance, and it also depends on your short-term and long-term plans and what you're overall looking to accomplish. So I think sometimes we get really caught up in like all the things we should be doing, but then you have to sit back and say, well, what works for me, right? There's a lot of great things you should be doing, but what works best for you?
Yep. Awesome.
So Billy, are you gonna shift your focus from paying them down to paying yourself now? Just curious.
It's funny you say that, Dave. I wish I had I like the balance. Like what Stacy was just saying, we tend to, on our primary and the other ones, round up. Let's just say you had an $820 mortgage payment a month. You try to pay $1,000 a month. You don't really miss that extra money. And it is amazing at how quickly the principal gets shaved off when you do that. The way that I've looked at it, Dave, is if I don't need, and this is, per the book, I'm wrong. And it's just what I do is if I don't need the cash flow, I'll dump it back into lowering the principal. If I need the cash flow, then I'll take the cash flow. One mistake that I make that is I don't pay myself first. I will say though, on the stuff that we've owned for investment, we have done refi cash outs and taken our money back. So whatever our initial investment was, after you rehab and refi, you pull your money back, then you can use that money to go buy something else, and you're still making cash flow on. It just may not be the same cash flow you were making, but now you can own multiple properties.
Mhm. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was going to be a fundamental shift in your focus.
It's funny, Dave. I mean, for me, it's like, I listened to, I think it was, Zeb a couple weeks ago talking about, being like debt free in these inside within a couple of years. And, I guess it depends on like how close you are to the end game and what your end game is and like what you're playing for. Steve's at the tail end of his real estate career for sales. But
Mute him.
He's on the back nine.
He's on the back nine, but regarding investments, like that's something that he's already made that change, that switch from sales to the development side. So he's going to take that for the last 8 holes. So I don't know. I'm playing the long game based on age.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Awesome.
Well, if you want to give me some money and I can add to my dead money in the bank, that would be fine.
Yeah, dead money is, that was eye-opening right off the bat. Like the first thing is just what your money doing. Is it dead? Is it safe? And just those 2 words right there, dead and safe, they should make you feel uncomfortable, right? If they don't, nothing says complacent more than dead and safe.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have some kind of money that might be called dead money in case something crops up that, you're going to need $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for whatever, depending on the size of the portfolio as your investments grow. It's either that or you better have a HELOC somewhere that you can grab and use and then pay back down again if you have that ability. But if you're going to buy, what you're calling dead money is something that you're going to work with. As long as you work with it within, I would say, depending on your size, 6 months to a year.
I agree.
Then you can go out and buy and have it. Because when something pops up and it's a good deal, you don't want to be running around trying to figure out how to get out of a 90-day CD or a 1 year or wherever you think you're going to make 3 or 4% because somebody says you've got dead money. I think Stacy said it right. It's in the middle. It all depends what your mindset is. If you're going to buy, then it's not dead money.
Right.
If you're not going to buy and it's just sitting there, then you just basically got a security deposit like a landlord would have, and you're not making anything on it. I just had one for a year, security deposit for $700. They made 38 cents. Ooh.
Right? What are you gonna do that?
It took me longer to get down there and back to put it in the damn file.
And I think some of us were raised with the whole save your money,
Yeah.
put it in a CD, ooh, wow, you can get 3%. Wow, look at that, you never know what's going to happen. Save the money, put it in the bank, put it under your mattress. And it's just not how you're going to build wealth.
Well, but there's a ton of truth to what Zeb and Stacy said, where, if you're looking at it as an overall portfolio, maybe it doesn't have to be, a third and a third, or how you break it up, but you do have to have some type of liquid that is dead money if, something happens or an opportunity falls out of the sky. And if you have all your money tied up in something else, maybe you have an opportunity to make other money, money in motion, but the HELOC is always a nice little safety net to have. Everybody should have one of those. Just, don't draw on it. Get it for the maximum they'll give it to you, 60, 80, 100,000, who cares? You're not borrowing, it's not costing you anything. And then that way you can use that as, it's no money, it's free money until when you go to use it, but
Yep. Best advice I ever got.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I think also, you think back years ago, I know our parents' generation was to pay off the house. That's number one, it's American dream to own a home, right? Then it's to pay it off, right? But then you reach retirement age, and I think we all have seen this with our own clients, and there's a shift in income, and all of a sudden it's great they own their home, but their income has changed, and now they're really struggling because they're not earning as much monthly. So then there's that struggle of, do I stay in my home, but I don't want to sell it, right? So you see that happen over time as well. So I think you also have to be prepared to retire and borrow money before you retire as well, and
Mhm.
kind of take a look at that, right? Does that shift? And of
Yeah,
course, you can do a
absolutely.
reverse mortgage, but that's not always the best solution for everybody.
Mhm.
But it can be an amazing solution too. And not to dig into that, but I think it's a great way to leverage your cash, right? If you're talking about maintaining the ability to stay in your home and leverage your equity that you've just worked your whole life to get rid of, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, that's just something somebody said made me think of that. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, great. Well, it's 11:15 and I want to jump right into this. So Stacy Jordan, I don't know which block she is on your screen, but she was just speaking. Hi, Stace. So Stacy's with Homebridge Mortgage, and Stacy, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about your investment journey, and why you do it and what you own and all those good things. And I think a lot of people are going to see a completely different side of, the other interviews that we've had over the year. It's kind of like you kind of mesh them all together in what you do, which is awesome. So we'll jump right into it. So first, Stacy, tell us a little bit about yourself as far as, how long you've been in the mortgage business and how you actually got into the mortgage business.
Yeah. So I've been in mortgage lending going on 22 years actually, this year. And I stumbled into mortgage, much like I think we all do in real estate and mortgage. I think we all have a story of how we ended up here. But I was working at State Street Bank, and I bought my first home when I was 23 because it just was important to me to buy a home young, and I got married young. So, and at age 25, I had an opportunity to flip a house that a real estate agent that I met locally presented, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So I said yes, and proceeded to flip that property. And when I was doing that, the mortgage guy that I was working with suggested I, quit my job and get in the mortgage business. At that time, I was also pregnant with my first child and wasn't excited about corporate structure. So that's what it was appealing to me to get into mortgage lending, have the ability to work from home, work on my schedule. Although we all know we don't really have our own schedule, but
Sounds good.
anyhow, yeah. And I also like the idea that I could be rewarded for the time I put in, and no one was telling me what my salary was going to be. So that was a huge appeal to me. And so I got, so that was about 21 years ago. I quit my job and dove into mortgage lending. So I did that one flip. I remember we made $25,000 on it, which was a lot of money at that time. It still is a lot of money, actually. And, I quickly learned by doing, and I think I just didn't, I never said no to anything. So I just took the chance and didn't really think much of it. So that's a little bit of my history, I guess, of how I stumbled into the business.
So the real estate agent had a property that somebody could flip, and they just presented that to you, and you've never
Yeah,
done
it
it.
was
Like,
actually
why
kind of
would
a
you even say
crazy
yes to
situation.
that? Like, what made you say, yeah, sure, I'll flip it?
It was kind of a crazy situation because it was a divorce situation. It was a colonial in Plymouth. The second floor was gutted, so it was not quite complete. And I don't know, when I think back, I don't know. I just thought, I guess I just liked the idea of it. And I liked the idea of making the profit. And I had established some connections. I was renovating a home myself. I bought an antique in downtown Plymouth, and I was like 2 years into renovating it myself. So I had already established some connections with general contractors, and I was kind of deep in that. So I think for that reason, I thought, oh, I can take on this project. So what was interesting though is we didn't end up getting a mortgage. This is kind of crazy when I think about it, but we ended up going in and renovating before we owned the property, which I don't suggest anyone does this, and I've never done it again, but went in, finished the second floor, marketed it and sold it. So the day that we closed, we actually bought it and sold it on the same exact day. So I haven't done anything like that since. When I look back now, it was definitely very risky, but we made it happen and walked away with like $25,000 in our pocket. And then I was able to take that money and invest that in the next flip.
Awesome.
So-
And how soon after that flip did you go to your next flip?
It was about 3 months later.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how many since from then until now, how many houses have you flipped in total?
Definitely. I was trying to think back on that. Over 30 for sure, maybe even closer to 40.
Okay.
I usually average 2 a year,
Okay.
give or take a few more. And some of the foreclosure years, I was doing more. And over the past, say, 5 years, I haven't done as many for a lot of reasons, you know. So
Okay. And do you literally flip it yourself and do the work, or do you have like a team of people that you hire?
yeah, I don't do anything. No.
You don't do anything. Okay.
I don't do anything
Just
anymore.
want to get clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I manage the money aspect of things. And I do have a business partner. I have flipped some things on my own in the past couple of years, and sometimes we'll still team up. So it kind of just depends on the project, how involved I am. I have one right now in Abington, and I haven't actually seen it in 2 months. I haven't even gone to see it. That's actually really bad, but I trust the people that are in place, and I'm too busy with mortgages. I can't even deal with it. So I'm just managing the money aspect of this flip.
Okay. Awesome. Now, will you continue to do flips as the time goes on, or?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I did 2 last year. And I flipped the property in January as well. I sold that one.
Okay.
So, you know, I sort of, depending on how much time I have or whatever's presented right in this current moment is sort of the way. I have one project I made an offer on right now, and it's not accepted yet. I don't know. It's going to be a big project on the Cape if it does come to fruition. So I can talk about that one later. But
Awesome. So how do you find the properties to flip?
it really, sometimes I just happen to notice them by, you know, looking online. But I would say as of recently, usually it's a real estate agent will just call me up saying I have a flip.
Okay.
And I think just over time, I've built up a network of I'll just say friends that know I flip. And so I think I probably just, you know, I'm top of mind perhaps. And so you know, for the most part, as I think back just in the past 2 to 3 years, every flip I have done has been presented by an agent that just knew I could close super quick with cash, and it just made their life easier with their client.
Awesome. Yeah. So you have a core group of people that know what you need, and they find it and call you.
And I
Sweet.
think also, and I think this is important, but my margins are not enormous, right? I'll do a flip for 20 grand. If I can walk away with $20,000 in 60 days or, you know, 90 days or so, then I'll say yes to that, because I don't really care. This isn't my full-time job. Although it's just not something I always say I don't rely on my income. I kind of pretend it doesn't exist because it's like my future plan or my longer term financial plan. So my, you know, my core hours have to be dedicated to my mortgage business first. So
Sure.
yeah. So I think, but having a smaller margin, it really does help because, you know, a lot of full-time flippers or investors, they really need to make a lot more money, right? That's their paycheck. So I think over the years, I've found that's been a huge benefit. It's allowed me to jump in and grab some properties that no one else wanted.
And where are these properties? So obviously there's some in Plymouth. Like how far out do you go from where you live?
I try not to go any more than depending on, it really depends on the scope of the project and how much work it needs.
Mhm.
So, you know, I have gone as far as the Cape, like Falmouth and a little further Cape, Truro.
Mhm,
And I haven't gone past Braintree. So I
Okay.
try to keep South Shore. And
Okay.
the Cape has just been a market I've ended up in for whatever reason.
Because someone called you and told you.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
And I have some connections in Falmouth, like family connections. So I think that's
Mhm.
probably, as I think about it, it's probably why.
Awesome. Great,
Yeah.
great. All right. So let's get into your other investment properties. So how many total investment properties do you currently have that you're holding?
So I have 7 right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have you have a mix. So you have 3 single family homes.
Yes. So I
All right,
have
so
3.
we'll start with those. Yeah, let's start with the single families.
I
Yeah.
have 3 single families. I have 2 in Duxbury that I own, and then I have 1 in Abington. That's my flip, though. Yeah, that's my flip. And then I have 1 in downtown Main Street in Plymouth. That's 100% commercial.
Mhm.
I also own a mixed use property on Court Street in Plymouth on the same street, residential up in and commercial down. And then I own 2 condos. One of them is also in, I guess I own a lot of property in Plymouth. I own a condo on the waterfront. It's like a duplex. So I own that, and that's on Airbnb. And then I own another condo in Mark Drive. You guys probably familiar with that complex in Plymouth as well. And that's what I have right now on my docket.
Awesome. So for your single family homes, what made you buy those? Did you renovate them and decide to rent them out, or did you buy them with the intention of just renting them out, or?
The two in Duxbury, I purchased to rent out and put on Airbnb.
Okay.
And actually, ironically, one of them, someone rented for 30 days, and then she's offered me like $3,800 a month in rent. So I decided to just let her stay because of pure, you know, not having to manage one property.
Mhm.
And that's a good one because it's a lot of money, obviously. I think it's
Mhm.
crazy, but she's paying it, and she pays me 100% cash. So, you know, I make about, again, I pay like $400 or $500 more towards the principal. So I clear about $900 a month on that, and it's cash. So
Mhm.
that's kind of nice. And I have a funny quick story though. She puts the cash in my grill, and yeah, you know where this is going, right? So, you know, I text my husband, honey, that, you know, money's in the grill. Can you grab it? So whatever, I forget about it. A day passes, and then I'm like, oh, okay, where's the cash? And he's like, oh my God. Well, so that night he went to start the grill, and then he remembered there was cash in the grill. So he quickly lifted the cover, and half of the cash was burnt. All right. I was having naturally a hard, I'm like, please do not tell me my $3,800 is like gone. So we did learn that, and we got very lucky. If the serial numbers, you can still see the serial numbers on the bills, then you're good. The bank will, you know, honor that cash. So just a little heads up on that. So we have to change our drop off. That just happened a few weeks ago. So anyway, whatever. It's always something.
So no more cash in the grill.
Yeah, I got to figure out a better solution there, you know. Anyway.
Yeah. Awesome. That's funny.
But I don't know if I got off track.
No, that's awesome. Love it. No, I love it. So why did you decide to buy single families as investment properties?
They were a good price point. I felt like there is such a high demand for rental, and I purchased these not too long ago. Actually, these are sort of newer properties.
Mhm.
But I could see that if I rented them out monthly, there's a good return potentially. And then I was having fun with Airbnb, so I figured I'll do weekly rentals because it's a beach community and see how that goes. And
Wow.
worst case scenario, I can just sell it if I decide I'm done. I'm sort of done with all of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, one of them I bought. I had to sink about $75,000 into it just to get it like Airbnb ready. The other one was turnkey, and I just happened to be able to pick it up from, you know, a family that just needed to get out super quick.
Mhm. So
So
for the Airbnb, I mean, is it just like weekly all the time throughout the whole year, or do you have months where you don't have it rented out?
I do. I've been really lucky with, I've been able to fill it with seasonal renters. A lot of times just actually even through connections in real estate of people that have sold and they've nowhere to go for a few months.
Mhm.
That's who's been occupying it as of the past couple of years. And then at June, July, August, September are my, weekly. It's interesting. You kind of have to play around with it. And again, with COVID, it really changed some things. Last year, on 2 of my Airbnbs, I kicked up the price so high so that nobody would book because I wasn't sure how to price it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a 5-night minimum or just leave it a little more flexible. And you kind of do have to play around a little bit. And it's like much like anything when people start to book, you know what people want, right? So you just have to pay attention to those cues and then have the ability to shift. So with both of these, I put them up so high on purpose because I didn't know how to price them for the summer season with COVID. And it was really strange, especially last year, because I really got nervous. I wasn't even sure there was going to be a weekly rental market. And then all of a sudden people started booking and I had listed it like $650 a night, like thinking nobody is going to pay that. That's ridiculous with a 5-night minimum. Well, I ended up getting all these bookings and I didn't expect it. So by accident, I did really well last summer and it wasn't even intentional. So it's similar trend going on right now as well. So I feel like I'm just going to ride the wave again this year and who knows what next year brings.
Mhm.
But previously I was getting about $350 a night on, on Airbnb. So I guess for me, I just saw an opportunity with either the year-round rental market, lack of rentals in general, especially in Duxbury, because, you don't have a lot of families. There's not a lot of rentals. So if you have a family that maybe doesn't qualify for a mortgage or they need to stay in the town, you tend to get higher rents here. So truthfully, that's kind of worked out nicely.
And it's funny because we talked about that one week about, our clients who they have nowhere to go and, they're selling the house, they have nowhere to purchase. And well, who's got a property that they could, let them use for however long it takes them to find something. So it's interesting that that's worked out for you in that way. Awesome. All right. So you don't have any multifamilies.
No, I don't, just because I don't know. I don't think any have really popped up on my radar. And truthfully, I kind of joke and say I really don't like owning property because I don't really like being a landlord. I just like collecting the money. So, but years ago I started, especially when foreclosures we were at the height of foreclosures. I started to say, what am I doing flipping all these houses? I should be retaining some of these. And that's when I started to retain a portfolio. But I say I like it, but I don't know if I love being a landlord, right? I don't know.
It just seems different to do the multifamily than a single family.
Yeah, I don't know why. It doesn't really make any sense. I can't even. And as a matter of fact, I passed up one in Kingston a few months ago, and I'm kicking myself now because I have so many people that reach out to me saying, "Do you have any vacancy? Do you have any vacancy?" And I could have filled it in 5 seconds, and I was able to get it off market. So I regret that decision to not buy it, but whatever. I was just like, I can't deal with that right now. I'm in the height of refis and mortgage lending, right? So
yeah. So you are open to it if the opportunity presented itself. You're not against multifamilies.
No. I think I just haven't found the right one hasn't presented itself, and it didn't excite me.
Okay. So. Awesome. Great. All right. So commercial. So you've got a mixed use and one that's completely commercial. So let's talk about the mixed use. So what made you purchase that? How did you find it? And I'm assuming obviously you're renting upstairs, and is that like a full-time tenant?
Yes. So the mixed use, I just saw the for sale sign truthfully and called because I love the downtown Plymouth area. And I just thought it was a great property. So I think I bought that one about 6 years ago now. And it's a great property because the tenant, I got really lucky. I secured the tenant before it closed. So I already knew what the income was going to be. And so the tenant occupies the commercial and the residential. So that's even easier for me. So, And yeah, I mean, that property is just, it's super old. I have to start investing some money into renovations. It's cute though. It looks okay, but that's just I got really lucky on that one too. I have a great tenant in there.
So the tenant owns the company that's downstairs.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
It's the Music Box. If anyone knows that
Mhm.
area, but it's the Music Box. So it's right across the street from the town hall. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's a little music store. And then he has his employees, or one employee that I think he subsidizes his salary by allowing him to live upstairs. So it sort of just works.
Mhm.
And it works great for me. And I guess it's one less thing to manage,
Yeah.
which is sort of like, I guess when it comes, I'm always like path of least resistance, right? I really don't love managing property. So
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. And then the other commercial property, what drew you to
Yeah.
that?
I own that one with a partner, and it was purchased years ago, like 10, 12 years ago now. That was a huge gut renovation. And that I don't have to do much on that except for collect a K1. So that I found that property, actually same thing. It was going to be a live auction, and through some of my Plymouth connections, because I serve on the board for the area chamber. So I found out about it through that connection, and I was able to attend the live auction, and we bid on the property and won it. So
Awesome.
we've hung on to that one. And that's just a great property. I love commercial. I find commercial to be, I don't know. I mean, your tenants, if you treat your tenants well, and they, I guess, it's easier in some respect. I find them residential.
Mm-hmm. Do you do, just off topic, but on topic, do you do commercial loans?
I choose not to.
Okay.
So I refer those out. I feel as though it's a different analysis, and I'd
Mhm.
rather pick one or the other and just do a
Sure.
good job.
Yep.
Yeah,
Stay in your
so-
lane. Yep. Focus.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Correct. I could broker it out, but yeah, nope, I'll stop with that.
Awesome. All right. And then 2 condos. Where are those condos? How long have you had them?
So the 2 condos are on Plymouth. I've one at Mark Drive. I did a lot of them. I flipped a lot in there years ago. I wish I hung on to more. Of course, it's easy to look back and say that, but
Mhm.
but anyhow, it's just condos are so easy. I think if you own condos, there's only a minimum amount of damage that can ever be done to them. That's the way I look at it, right? So if you have a residential tenant and they destroy the place, it's only going to cost X amount to fix it, even if they take a baseball bat to the whole place. I don't know. So for me, I like that
Here comes-
aspect of it.
Here comes Billy with he's going to show you photos of his destroyed
Yeah,
condo.
Stacy,
Yeah.
Stacy, I'll send you a couple photos of how my last tenant left my place. It was teetering on meth lab.
Oh God.
It was pretty bad but that's the only time in 17 years of a condo, and I love condos for that reason, is there's only so many things you have to fix,
Mhm.
unless you have a bad tenant. But I'll text you a couple photos.
All right, that's awesome.
Hey, Billy, it only got that way because you forgot how to get there.
No joke. I actually sold the place, Stacy, without being there in 12.5 years. So that's talent.
Good for you.
Yeah. So it's more of a
Yeah.
Contained area, if you will,
Right,
1,
right,
2 bedroom,
exactly.
kitchen, not a whole house and
Right.
yard and all that.
Well, and I think it also helps if you can pick up a condo on a foreclosure market where there's, we've all seen the condo market dip so incredibly low and then raise up again, right? Like in Mark Drive, for example, you could pick up some condos for 50 grand. Historically speaking, over the past, say 30 years, they have gone as low as 50 and as high as probably 230. And that's an incredible, dip. And so if you can catch a couple on the lower end, they're just really great investments. And the cash flow is awesome, so, and then the other condo I own is on the waterfront in Plymouth. I bought it 3 years ago. I happened to just see it on for sale, and I called the agent who I knew was listing it, and I said, "What's the deal? I want it," and I bought it. And then my intention then was to use it as an Airbnb, and that's what I've been doing. Same thing, really, it's been a really great property to own. It's a duplex. The owner next door is really cool. That's important, because it's not like you don't have a condo association, but the guy's really great, and he, you know, he's got money. So if we want to repair something, there's never any pushback there, or, you know, so that's been an awesome property. That one's been really fun to own, actually. Yeah.
Awesome. So with the Airbnbs, I mean, do you have a company that just goes in, cleans, changes the sheets, does all that stuff? You pay them and that's it? Wow. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I was doing it because
Yeah.
I'm crazy, and because I felt like, all right, I want to know what this looks like, how long it takes, you know, how I want it done,
Yeah.
and sort of like the experience you want to provide for that Airbnb person.
Yeah.
So I did do it like the first summer, and then naturally, I don't even clean my own house. So I'll be honest, I say it at home. I don't clean. Like,
Yeah.
I work, right? So, but I'll clean my investment property, no problem. But yeah, no, I have somebody now. I have a great cleaning company, and she just goes in, and we have a good system. You know, and so she handles all of that, and actually pretty cheap. And I charge a cleaning fee too. So I pick up like $50 on that too.
Awesome.
Yeah, just helps offset whatever.
Right. Awesome. So besides your client leaving you cash in your grill, how do your other tenants pay you? Because I know you're focused on your mortgages, and with all of these properties, how do you handle that?
The Airbnbs make it really easy because they just send you, they deposit the money into your account shortly after. So that's super set it and forget it. Anyone that books outside of Airbnb on that property usually just gives me a check or Venmo, which is Venmo's great too, you know, because sometimes you don't have to show all of that as deposited income. So, and then one of my condo guys, he pays cash. I definitely have a handful of cash tenants, and they just drop by, right? Like we just have some system set up. My office, one of them stops by my office once a month. And then the other ones are on like the easy tenant pay with South Shore Bank, who I bank with. And it just allows tenant and landlord to, you know, set up an auto deposit from their bank to mine. So I try to make everything as set it and forget it as possible, because I do not have time, you know, to be a property manager, even though I am, but I try not to be, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I try to keep everything as, I don't know, as easy as possible. I'm a little bit like absentee landlord. I am and I'm not, but I'm not popping by to see the property each month. I feel like I have tenants I trust. And so that's not really something I do.
Awesome. So as far as financing goes, your wheelhouse here. So how do you typically do? I know sometimes you said like for your flips, you pay cash. For the others, are you doing like a 15 or 30-year loan, or are you paying cash for those too? Or
yeah, I try to get a loan on everything, whether it's after the fact or out of the gate, depending upon the circumstances. I hate getting a mortgage. Honestly, it's like the worst process in the world, right? Let's be honest. So
yeah, it's a lot of paperwork.
It's kind of funny. I mean, I'll avoid everything I can, right? But obviously it's necessary. So, you know, as a lender broker, my world is based on secondary market lending, which sometimes has some restrictions for investors. So what I've done over the years is I lend myself my own money. So Stacy Jordan lends my LLC money, and I'm kind of expensive. So I charge 14% with 2 points. And if, you know, or if I have to reduce it to 12, I will, but that's how I lend myself the money at that rate. Then I have created a pool of, I guess, investors that I will just text them and say, hey, listen, I made an offer on a property. I'll send you some of the details. I'm pretty sure your money will be tied up for X amount of time. And we've worked together for about 10, 15 years. So they'll just wire me money. So I have about 4 people. I know it's kind of crazy. They trust me that much, but so I have about 4 people that will send me anywhere from 100 to 150 to 200,000. And I pay them 10% with 2 points on that money. And then I also have, like anyone, you know, a whole list of hard money lenders, right? So I have some of those relationships, but that's like my last ditch effort after I've lent myself my own money, or tapped into the investor pool, or just paid if I have enough money to cover it myself, right? or of course, go the traditional route of getting a mortgage. I have a couple of bankers that I know well, two of them that I will use. I don't put it through my own company because I don't like anyone to know my business.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and I mean, it just depends on what I'm doing with the property, right? That will usually dictate how I get the money, what kind of terms I'm looking for. And
Mhm.
I don't get too hung up on, is it 3% or 3.5%? I really don't care. What's a half a point gonna do, right? So I'd rather make sure that whoever I'm borrowing money from can get the deal done and do what I need to in the time that I need it. That's more important to me
Mhm.
than, obviously terms matter, return on money matters, but that's not, I don't get hung up on that per se.
So if somebody's lending you money, is it more because you're gonna pay cash for it then, and then you'll do like a cash refi and then give them their money back?
Exactly.
Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Just for clarity, okay.
Yeah, and truthfully, guys, I don't know. I just found over the years, people love the idea of flipping and investing, but they don't want to do it themselves, right? Whether
Yeah.
they don't have the time, the capacity, they're afraid, they don't feel as though, they have the resources to do it. So whether that's investing in something, it's all short term naturally, but short term can be up to 12 months, believe it or not. Some of the projects that I've done in the past. So they just love to be able to participate in it. And I find that that's just why they do it. I mean, obviously they like the 10% with 2 points, but
Sure.
I think they also just like to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm investing in a flip. So it's
Yeah.
kind of funny, but I find that to be the case.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you said that you're borrowing money from yourself, can you kind of explain that a little bit more on how you actually do that?
Yeah. So I have just built up reserves over the years and, through really my flips. And so I've reinvested that cash instead of putting it in the market or 401k or anything. I just keep it liquid for myself to lend to myself. And I mean, and over the years, that's where I've pulled my 30% down. So like if I've purchased like the couple properties I own Duxbury, and the waterfront condo I bought that I retained the past couple of years, I put 30% down. So I was able to take the 30% out of that reserve pool, which of course shrinks down your ability to then go invest it, right, on a flip. But then I slowly build it up over time. So that's been my strategy. So I've built up the reserve for the past 21 years, and I've just constantly reinvested it in a property to retain or a property to flip, just depending upon what comes, appears in front of me that I like.
Sure. Awesome. And so for your LLCs, do you have all of your properties in one LLC? Are they all in separate ones? How do you handle that?
So I have multiple LLCs for each property I retain. And then, and I'll either close in the LLC or I'll just move it into it after if I just can't get it done in time or I don't feel like it, but I sometimes I'll do it either way. And then I have one dedicated LLC to my flipping. So I actually have two now because I have a partnership with Mike Rodriguez. Some of you guys, of course, Billy D knows Mike, but Mike and I partnered up years ago because he worked for Auckland, the foreclosure bank, and I had some cash. So that's how our partnership was formed like 12, 13 years ago. So anyhow, yeah, I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I have an LLC where we're both members. So, but if I do my own flipping, I had to open up an LLC for my own flips that I just wanted to do by myself.
Sure.
So I have those two for flipping, and then I have individual LLCs for my properties.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on that because it's expensive, but whatever. I don't know. My attorney tells me that's what I should do.
Right.
So.
Cover yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one question, and maybe I won't have to ask this question anymore since COVID's kind of over, right? So during this whole COVID situation here, and with all the properties with the 7 that you own, did you have any situations where you had tenants that didn't pay and that you had to evict them?
I was lucky. I haven't had any challenges whatsoever. I was a little nervous about my Court Street property, but fortunately he just paid and I never really reached out. I just left that alone. Yeah, no, I have to say that I've been very fortunate through COVID. I haven't had any challenges at all with tenants not paying.
Okay, especially with the commercial too, with a lot of companies closing.
Right.
That must have been a little, oh my God, I have 2 commercial properties, and if those businesses go out of business, and then how am I gonna
Mhm.
put somebody else in there, you know?
Yeah, I was a little nervous about that. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I have really good reserves built up in both of those properties. So I
Mhm.
could sustain it, but I naturally, like, who the heck wants to dip into reserves, right?
Right.
So I think, yeah, I think I got lucky, I guess, whether they exercised the PPP, right? And there
Mhm.
were, it was more important for the businesses to stay open.
Mhm.
So they didn't, I had no problem with collecting.
Yeah, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll ask one more question, then we'll open it up for questions, because we do have to jump off at noon for everyone's time, and there's a class after this. So if you could share one piece of advice with everybody, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Sorry, I should have
Um,
told you that was one of the questions.
Yeah, that's okay. Don't be afraid to take some risk. I think calculated risk, right?
Mhm.
That's the way I don't just jump into something without, running numbers, looking
Mhm.
at it, thinking about, what are your risks, right? But I think in order to get ahead, and you do have to take some risk. And I don't know. I think that would probably be, my advice. I wouldn't be, I guess, where I am right now if I wasn't afraid to just kind of go for it.
Mhm.
And lean on people that have experience, right? Because I think that, whether you're flipping or retaining or, whatever it is you're doing, um, I think don't try to just figure it out as you go. I mean, I did a lot of that.
Mhm.
But and I got kind of not lucky, but I've never lost money on an investment. I've never lost any money on a flip ever.
Mhm.
But maybe that's just the design of my business and how I've done things. But anyhow, I'd say, pick a mentor like anything, and learn from someone that's done it.
Right.
And don't be
Awesome.
afraid. You can't really create wealth by sitting on your money, right? You do have to take it and make it work for you somehow. So
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Stacy? Don't be shy. Bill.
Casey, it's not so much a question, it's just like that aha, something you said early, and you didn't even, think about it, was a business partner. And I think a lot of us, before we bought our first one, oh my God, can I do this? Can I afford this? What's the risk? If you find a like-minded, like you have a good business partner in Mike, we both know that. And the situation was perfect. He had an opportunity to find some discounted foreclosure distressed property, and you had what he had was, which was money. So I mean, it was perfect. But for anybody on here, like the business partnership, if you find the right partner, like anything, could really be the difference of either doing something or not.
yeah,
So that was just like a quick little aha, where sometimes
yeah,
you may not, you may see a deal and may not have all the money, but if you just try to grab a partner and say, hey, here's the opportunity that I have, but it sounds simple, but I just never really
Yeah.
focused on it.
Well, and if I might add to that a little bit as I'm thinking out loud, if you're going to entertain a business partnership, a couple of points or things you should keep in mind. Number one, do not even consider partnering with anybody that brings the same skill set to the table.
Mhm.
It will not work over time. It will eventually not work out because you're going to look at it like, I don't really need this person. There's no point. So, and I think I don't think you absolutely need to sit down with an attorney and structure a business partnership agreement. We did that. And my attitude was, let's pretend we hate each other in 5 years. This has to be to protect both of us. The other thing is, a couple of the properties we own together. And then, I got to a point where I was like, I really want to own some by myself also, because I don't want to have to buy him out or whatever. Right. And there's no reason. I'm just more of like looking at my longer term plans and what I want out of life in general, whatever. So, we also put in place life insurance that two of our properties pay for. So if he passes away, I get X amount of money. So therefore, if that happens, I can buy out his children, for example, and vice versa. So you do have to really, need to treat it like a business, right? And also it's just like anything, open communication and dialogue. I mean, I flipped properties without him. He's flipping one without me. Sometimes we bring each other in now. I did a property 2 years ago that I didn't need to include him in, but I was so busy, I couldn't deal with it. So I was like, I brought him in. So, those are just a little bit, a few things to think about. And then one of my partnerships, we don't talk. So that really, that's another story for another day and whatever, but I have an ownership interest, so he can't sell without me. So.
That life insurance thing that you said was genius, just because those are things that, Stacy, nobody thinks about.
Right.
And it's like, God forbid, a life-changing moment, that nobody can be stuck, and you have that ability to say, here's the money, and you just, like you said, buying out, family at that point, where it's not changing your financial status at all. It's just saying, okay, here's why the policy is in place. Here you go. You move on, they move on, and
That's right.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. So just when you said partnership and all that, it just made me think of all that. So hopefully that's value.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Don't just have beers and pool your money. That's a bad idea.
No, in fact, you want to do the opposite. Like, really, you really do have to consider this is a contract with another human being, and you want to definitely enter it as if you guys are enemies. And then you'll be in good shape.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. I love that. And the whole, pick somebody that's not like you, because you need to have strengths on both sides.
Yes, definitely. And and listen, I love my partner, but even the one I brought him into 2 years ago, sometimes I'm like, I didn't need to do that with him, and I could have made double. But you can't go there. That's a dangerous mindset, right? And that's greed, and that's negativity. And so I try to do everything I can to avoid anything like that, right? And that's making sure you're aligned with someone that brings something different to the table. So then you both win, but I like the ability to, my risk is a little more spread out, right? If I have a partner, but I also like doing my own thing too. So anyway.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to know the person. You have to, I mean, talk about communication. I mean, and some people may think that I'm crazy and this is not a good idea, but my brother and I are going to be partnering up. We've been looking for stuff. And I understand families probably like, oh, you should never, do business with family, but I know my brother very well. He knows me very well. And it's more about like the family and the kids, you know what I mean? Because what we're doing is for our kids. We each have 2 girls. So it's like, here you go, divided by 4 ways, bye. But, we've had, some serious conversations like, well, what if one of us gets divorced, or do we put them on? Like, how does this work? And, I think you can tell a lot about a person, especially if like you're, you've had situations where you've had to split money before, estate things and stuff like that. You can really tell how people really are, and you got to pay attention to that. Because I'll tell you, if he wasn't my brother and I had another sibling, I probably would never do it. So, but you got to do your own stuff too, which I think is important.
And estate planning and wills and all that, right? Help protect you, especially when, you have children, he has children. Almost sometimes preparing and not letting them make decisions is best, right? I'm kind of digressing in a different direction, but just made me think of that too. I know it's not fun to plan for all the worst, right? And death and divorce and all that, but if you're able to do it, then you can stress about other things in life. So
and you can't not have the conversation because you're too afraid to, because if you're too afraid to have those conversations, then you shouldn't be in business with that person.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stacy. That was awesome. So much insight. I think it, again, we talked about it earlier. We've had people on here that just do condos, people that just do flips, people that, just do multifamily. So you kind of dabble in a little of everything, which is really awesome. So, and you're a woman. So thank you for that inspiration.
Oh, you're welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening, I guess, and being
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So again, Stacey Jones with Homebridge Mortgage. She's out of Plymouth. So if you ever have any mortgage questions or have any clients that, need her assistance, I know she does a ton of business with a bunch of agents in the Norwell office. So, feel free. I'm sure she wouldn't mind answering your questions if you
No.
have any. So,
Yeah, our local office is in Norwell, Hanover, FYI, but it's okay.
Okay.
I just thought I'd let you know. Some
oh,
people are
well, good,
afraid to go to
thanks. I just
Plymouth.
assume you're in Plymouth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just
I
know you for
know.
being there. So,
It's
yeah.
all good. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah. Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Next month, Dave Jenks, who wrote the MREI book, is going to be on this call. The author. Bring like 10 friends with you because it's going to be really embarrassing if we have like 4 people on the call. I mean, I booked this like months ago and he's doing this out of the kindness of his heart, which is so awesome. And I know he's going to give you so much value if you've been to any of his classes before. So when the calendar comes out, I think it's the 3rd week is when he's coming in June. Put that on your calendar. I would appreciate it. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks guys. Have an awesome week.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.